Put on your ridiculous hats, make yourself some delicious toast, because this game's going to be anything but breezy. Welcome to Season 2 of United Hearthstone League. Hello, everybody. My name is Brasky. I am joined by the one and only Anna Moore. We are from Swagoi Gaming, and we are here to bring you a fantastic match of Hearthstone, part of United Hearthstone League. And this match is going to be a fun one. It is absolutely guaranteed. Anna Moore, who do we have coming up competing in tonight's match on stream?
Well, Brasky, first of all, I want to say it's awesome to be here. I love casting with you. And I love United Hearthstone League. Tonight, we have two awesome players. We have none other than Spiver from 1600 Dust versus Nate Wolf of Into the Wild. This is going to be a good one.
This is absolutely going to be a good one. The fact that we have Nate Wolf from Into the Wild playing a standard format, it's going to be a wild time for him. That is to be sure. We have the three classes in for each of our players right now. Spiver, of course, bringing Mage, Warlock, and Warrior. Meanwhile, Nate Wolf is bringing Druid, Mage, and Priest. We know a few things about some of these decks, and more, and much more than the decks that they're playing is the format that they're playing in, which is the very unique format to UHL. So for those that might not be acclimated to the United Hearthstone League and the format that it plays, why don't you give a rundown for the folks about the format of UHL?
Yeah, absolutely. So the format's a little bit unique. They have their 9 classes in Hearthstone, but each week they can only choose 3 of those classes in a best-of-5 standard conquest format. Once they pick those 3 classes, they have to pick 3 different classes the next week, and then another 3 different classes separate from the 6 they picked the previous 2 weeks until all 9 of their classes are done. And then once that's done, they reset that. And then they can pick their 3 classes again, going into week 4, week 5, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes for a really interesting format. Something that I think a lot of people caught on to as Season 1 kept going was the fact that as the meta shakes out and becomes more stable, this format is anything but. It's the fact that you are forced to play classes that people would consider to be the weaker classes. And you have to kind of sort out what classes you're going to bring. Otherwise, you might just end up with an entire week of just 3 garbage tier decks. You're not going to win that match. You really have to balance yourself out. And I believe the champion last year was Ridiculous Hat. And he talked at length on his Coin Concede podcast about what it's like to pick and choose your classes in a unique way. And, I'm very interested to see these two competitors, how they're going to kind of jump in and jump into this format. And do we know anything about these decks so far that kind of stands out to you as being, this might be a little different than what we're seeing?
Personally, there's been a lot of, I'm trying to think of the correct word. A lot of innovation in a lot of decks in this last week. As everyone knows, of course, we recently had the new expansion of Hearthstone drop. So a lot of different decks. Year of the Raven, I believe it is now. Last year was Year of the Mammoth. A lot of card rotations, some Hall of Fames. But these decks are all very different, but in a lot of ways kind of similar in what we've seen before. There's still a lot of really strong, really powerful late game control decks in the form of like Warlock and Druid, but also a lot of really powerful aggressive decks like Paladin. I don't believe we have any Paladins today, so I believe we're going to have some control style matchups today.
Yeah, that's what it appears at first breeze. It's interesting to me the fact that whenever you have a major standard rotation like the one that we just had going into the Year of the Raven, the meta goes through these massive shifts, these phases, if you will. Phase 1, everyone is really just kind of taking the decks that were really well known, before the rotation and just adding to or kind of adjusting what they were. And so initially everyone's like, well, this meta hasn't changed at all. It's just it's 2 big Paladin decks and a great Warlock, and that's it. There's going to be nothing there. And now in the past few days, we've started to see the shift into the second phase of the meta, where people are just really trying innovative, different things. And we've seen stuff that be successful all across the gamut. We've seen this ridiculous play dead Recruit Hunter. We've seen the Taunt Druid. That's now the big rage of everything that's going on. The one thing that might have a couple people up in arms is the fact that Spiteful Summoner, still a card, and still going to be a card for quite some time. So I'm really interested to see the decks that these competitors bring between Spiver and Nate Wolf, and kind of learn what the next stage of this meta is, not just on the ladder, but in something competitive like UHL.
Yeah, absolutely. Spiteful Summoner is kind of the cornerstone right now of mid-range play. So I'm interested to see how many decks have Spiteful Summoner tonight.
That's absolutely true. I think we'll get started here in just a moment as we get these competitors lined up, and they are going to go into battle here at any moment. But in the meantime, of course, if you haven't found out about the other spots where you can find UHL, of course, you can see above us. You can go at Twitter at UnitedHSLeague. You can also find us at Discord or Twitch.tv or just about anything, and just put a / UnitedHSLeague. You could just do back to go to any website you want to. I might just like type up, open something up, go Google / UnitedHSLeague. It'll probably take me to something really cool. It's like typing in the Konami code. But it's a wonderful community, and it has representations of so many wonderful content makers. You can see below us all of the wonderful, podcasts that are represented, podcast gaming communities, anything Hearthstone related that is represented down below us, including Squidward Gaming, which is an organization that both Anamore and I are a part of. So it looks like we are getting ready to roll. We are going to jump right in. We are getting ready to roll, and we are going to see game number 1 between Spiver and Nate Wolf.
Yeah, I'm excited to get this one started. Let's see. It looks like we're starting off with Nate Wolf on. It looks like that Witching Hour Beast Taunt Druid.
We'll get Spiver to invite me to spectate, so we'll know exactly what he's playing. But in the meantime, look at this. The Witching Hour comes out. It's that beast. It's that beast druid. It's that wonderful, because I believe the only beast that's in this deck is Hadronox, which is, if you're only going to run one beast, that's a hell of a legendary to run.
Yeah. And we don't see exactly what Spiver has yet, but if Spiver's playing that,
there we go.
That 2/6 with that summons the Raptors for your opponent. If he can manage to put additional beasts onto the board, he can kind of disable the plan of this druid.
Well, the one thing I noticed right there is Fire Plume Phoenix is the first thing I noticed. I do notice 2-3 cards. This is not an odd even deck, but it is a wonderful quest deck with a lot of golden cards, because we all know Spiver is a flashy Hearthstone player.
Nature's blessings upon you.
I'm a fan. I like golden cards.
Look at this. Look at this. The generous BMing that you find in UHL. The wonderful things. Of course, Lunara is, of course, the new Druid character that you get for winning 10 standard games in the new Year of the Raven. And there we see the quest come out on 1, so the clock starts ticking for Wolf. He now knows exactly what he's up against. So knowing that this is a taunt warrior, most likely that's going to be able to refresh its hero power at some point. Is Wolf, even though this is a slower druid deck, is he going to go on the offensive, or is he just looking to flood the board at some point, kind of destroy his taunt minions so he can continually bring them back?
So, truthfully, I don't have much experience with either side of this matchup. I began playing with a lot of aggro decks at the start of the expansion. However, I would assume he'd probably want to go aggressive. He might want to think about what kind of build for taunt warrior this is exactly. Is this the one that's going to do a 32 damage hero power to my face, or is it going to refresh hero power and clear a bunch of my minions? We're not sure. Gonna have to wait and find out, I assume.
Yeah,
get as much information as we can.
I've played a little bit of this very specific warrior, and I had a bunch of fun with it. I mean, the fact that you have something like Phantom Militia, that card in and of itself just completely revitalized Taunt Warrior. It was just sitting on the outskirts. It used to be really fun during the Ungoro meta, and then, whether or not people liked it as a competitive deck in tournaments, it just kind of went away after a few expansions. And now all of a sudden, a singular card like Phantom Militia added to it a few of the other cards that can refresh hero powers, just kind of completely revitalized this archetype. That's something you can say for a lot of this Witchwood expansion. People didn't really know how they felt about it, but the fact that we've seen a lot of old cards from Ungoro get revitalized, the fact that we've seen things like Raid Leader, and we're seeing basic cards being put into meta decks, kind of tells you all you need to know about the direction the Witchwood has gone, and really how fun it is.
Yeah, you don't really expect to see the Raid Leader and Stormwind Champion in the same deck at Legend rank. So it's definitely been a very interesting experience.
So right away, Carnivorous Cube, a possibility here for a 1/5, but even I, as a Trash player, probably knows that that is not something you really want to do just about yet, maybe if ever. Spiver, of course, he started the taunt train rolling. He's got 1 out of 7 going. This really looks to finish the quest on turn 9. You're able to throw out 3 Phantom Militias. You really want to hit 4 taunt minions before you hit turn 9, because you know you'll be able to finish the quest before turn 10.
Oh yeah, Spiver's got a ton of time. Just gonna play it safe, wait it out, drop the taunts, and with both of those militia in hand, there's not gonna be any issue doing that.
Nope, not at all. So right away we kind of see that the Gluttonous Zoo is sitting down there as well. I'm wondering if I'm bugged a little bit on this spectator mode, but we will find out pretty quickly if this is going to continue to go the way it goes. And so Phantom Militia comes out, possibly. He's looking at a few other things. It looks like, yep. We were waiting for
this. I wasn't seeing the same thing you were seeing. I think I'm all right.
Are you still in the game, Clint, right now, or did we disconnect?
I'm still in the game. Spiver ended up dropping a Phantom Militia and then the echo of that militia. So Spiver is actually up to 4 out of 7 on his quest.
Great. Well, we'll get back up there in just a moment to make sure that we can get back in. I'm going to jump back into Wolf here, see if I can get Spiver lined up as well.
I tell you what.
The joys of the Hearthstone Spectate client. It's been this many years, and it still just can't do what it needs to.
I tell you what, though. Anytime the client bugs, it always seems like there's a druid in the game. I don't want to draw any conclusions, but that's just what I've been seeing.
One way or another. So we did see a couple of Phantom Militias get dropped down right there. Of course, he's got the second one in hand. It's a golden one, too. It's a fancy one. You always save the goldens for
it's beautiful.
Are you the type of player that tries to get as many goldens as possible? Are you someone who can run 1 golden, 1 non-golden is a big thing? Some people are low CD that way. They can't really, they either have to go all golden or nothing at all.
So the thing is, you absolutely have to... if you're playing in a competitive format and your opponent doesn't know your deck list and they can draw conclusions, you always do either 2 golden or 2 non-golden, not 1 of each. Because they can decide, oh, hey, he's played 1 golden one and 1 non-golden one in different games and draw inferences about your deck.
Yes, I play the non-goldens just so everyone thinks that, this guy, he's probably free to play. And then I, play like I'm free to play. Actually, worse than. And then end up just getting beat one way or another. So the Nourish comes out here from Wolf. He's going to go all the way up to, looks like he's back up to 10 mana now, which is going to set him up for that eventual Ultimate Infestation. Still staring down, a 4/8. Yeah, it's not anything to scoff at. So he's going to naturalize it right now and just take as much pressure off himself as he can.
Yeah, I'm interested in this play. I'm obviously at 10 mana with Ultimate Infestation in hand, he's going to overdrop probably, 1 card. Actually, at the end of the turn, he'll be exactly at 10 cards in hand in the upcoming turn and then overdraw on the following turn. I'm not sure Wolf cares that much about that unless that burn card is Hadronauts.
Absolutely. And I don't believe this deck runs Arcane Tyrants at all.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where you'd put him.
Yeah, well, you put him in the 4 slot, obviously. Zing. So there it is. The quest is already done by turn 8. Sulfuras comes into the hand right now. And, you have to expect that's gonna just jump out of his hand immediately on turn 9, and he's going to start putting on the pressure. Wolf is at 44 health right now, but here it comes. Ironwood Golem comes down. There's another taunt minion that's going to help him. Carnivorous Cube, of course, sitting in hand for him as well. The Swipe going to come out here. He's going to remove as much minions as possible. 50 health for Wolf, but that 50 health can go down rather quickly when you're facing a Ragnaros hero power.
Yeah, fortunately, Wolf managed to drop a couple cards this turn. Next turn, it'll be plenty of time for that Ultimate Infestation, or plenty of room in hand for it. Unfortunately, Spiver's already got Sulfuras, and I'd expect we'd see it come down real soon. You'd want to start putting on the pressure.
Yeah, pressure's the name of the game, and unfortunately for Wolf, he's going to start feeling the pressure right about now. Sulfuras comes into the hand of the Warrior. Now Magni is going to start throwing 8 damage at just about anything he wants to, and of course with some other, he's got Acolyte of Pain for card draw, he's got Dry Whisker Armor, he's got Blood Razors, he's got Phantom Militias, he's got Warpaths. He's going to be able to get max value out of that Acolyte of Pain, which is something you absolutely need, because eventually you just want to find your combo pieces. You want to go 8 damage, refresh your hero power, 8 damage, do it over and over and over again, so you can just start placing as much pressure as you can onto this Druid. Meanwhile, the Druid's going to have a really strong turn 10, but it's not the turn 10 that you want after a Quest Warrior has completed his quest.
Yeah, the Quest Warrior completed his quest real early on. I mean, I guess turn 8's not that early, but when you're accelerating your mana as a Druid, and they don't feel that far behind, it gets kind of scary sometimes. We don't see Hadronox yet.
No Hadronox, and he's got 9 cards left. It's 1 in 9 that he burns the win condition right now. Huge risk from Wolf, but you would say probably a necessary risk at this point.
Actually, I think he has room in hand for it.
Let's find out. Oh, he does. Okay, he does have room in hand. For a second, I thought he was sitting at 10 cards.
But not a lot of proactive plays.
The butt was clenched at that point. I was in maximum clench mode for that right now. Meanwhile, Naturalize going to do some work and kind of fill up his opponent's hand here a little bit. And, Stonehill Defender comes in. He also gets a Serenite Chain Gang. He gets taunt minions that he doesn't really need anymore. He wants the combo pieces right now. Meanwhile, Wolf himself still has that 3/6, and he's going to just continue to cycle, looking for that Hadronox. Master Oakheart will find that Hadronox pretty darn quickly.
Oh, I forgot about that. Most of the lists I played against didn't play Master Oakheart, but I guess that's a really easy way to get Hadronox out on the board.
It's a fantastic way to get, and this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, the fact that this set has kind of revitalized certain cards that you wouldn't expect them to all of a sudden have life anymore. And so the fact that Master Oakheart is seeing play inside of a Druid that brings out Hadronox, 2 cards that nobody thought would see any play in this expansion, all of a sudden have the chance to really do some fun stuff.
Yeah, there are some cards that are just really solid against aggro in the forms of that the Apple Bomb, the Rotten Apple Bomb, and then you got cards like Cube that can just multiply your threats and to go against control, and you can fit both of those into the same deck and hit both aggro and control matchups.
It's something I just realized here, if you look on the match screen between Spiver and Nate Wolf, is the fact that both of them are basically doing their best Ben Brode impressions. Both of them rocking the red flannel as best they can right now. And I know that Ben Brode would probably feel really nice about a Master Oakheart pulling out Hadronox just like that. And last time I checked, I don't see much of any silence in the hand of Spiver.
No, I don't see. I mean, I don't have the benefit of seeing the flipped hands.
He's
like
got a lot of stuff in that
stream.
hand, but none of it is silent at this point.
Yeah, no effective way of neutralizing the Hadronox threat.
So now Spiver kind of assessing the situation of what he wants to do. Obviously, he knows that 3/7 is going to bring back some gnarly stuff. And the fact that once Hadronox dies, you have the Witching Hour to bring it right back. Even then, you could Carnivorous Cube the Hadronox, then bring out more Hadronox. You're like that exhibit meme that just goes, hey, dude, I heard you like Hadronox, but I Hadronoxed your Hadronox, and then I give you another Hadronox on top of it. Meanwhile,
oh, Lord.
Look at all these taunts that come out now, and they aren't going to stop anytime soon.
That's a lot of taunts, but I think that's the least threatening Hadronox death rattle I've seen, and that says something about this deck.
I've seen my fair share of Hadronox death rattles, and that was garbage.
Ooh, Warpath. This is the first time I've actually seen this card played in the Year of the Raven. Well, actually, it's the only time you can see it.
And we saw it not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times the Warpath comes out and clears out the board. And that's a thing,
I have to stop you. You might say that's a 4-path.
Hey! And the one thing that I'll say is that, 3 cards left in the deck for Wolf. He's got to start putting on the pressure ASAP, and Spiver still has things like a Brawl, probably 2 of them. He's got some Executes in hand as well. He's got ways to maybe stave off this pressure, and he's got taunts of his own. And the fact that he's so far ahead in the fatigue count, are we going to see this go to the fact of, is the fire going to start burning faces once the cards are gone?
If it were me, I would think Spiver's not going to get that opportunity. There's just an insane amount of Hadronoxes that are still to come. Sure, he has a good amount of resources that he can use, but he's going to keep chipping away at his health. And sure, he's gaining 14 armor this turn, but there's a lot of minions out there.
Lots of minions there, and look at that. So the first Hadronox comes out there. He's kind of limiting the board space there. So he eliminated 1 Hadronox right away. off the bat. He's going to just continue. He's not really worried about these little 1-attack, 3-attack minions right now. If he can continue to kind of, if he can put all of the, he'd rather see these minions as opposed to the Lich Kings of the world, or even the Primordial Drakes. If he can just continue to have these tiny minions up, he feels that he can weather that storm a little bit.
Yeah, you would think, but he'll have to continue allocating resources to dealing with these minions, and I don't think he'll ever achieve a full board clear for the rest of the game. No. Meanwhile, he doesn't have the armor hero power. He's got shield blocks and whatnot, but Wolf is just going to keep putting stuff down and hitting him in the face.
Yeah, little tiny minions just start chipping away at you left and right, and all of a sudden Spiver down to 17 health. So you almost have to wish at this point that you basically go for a brawl and hope Hadronox lives, right? That's really like your only option at this point, is to hope for something of that nature. Of course, if that happens, then the Carnivorous Cube comes out and just drops back down on Hadronox, and you start back over again. This is why a lot of people thought this deck might be, this Druid deck, the second it started to come up, there's a lot of pros that are a little bit worried about this deck in the competitive landscape, of the fact that it just keeps coming at you little by little, one after the other after the other. You really have to find a way to transform Hadronox immediately or steal it immediately. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bad day for you.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of ways to do it. The common play is to drop Hadronox on 10 with either Master Oakheart, or just playing it from hand and then naturalizing it so your opponent doesn't have any way to interact with it. And without cards like Dirty Rat, you can't prevent that from happening. Sometimes you just got to go face and beat them before that happens. But unfortunately, Taunt Warrior can't really do that.
Look at this. A Reckless Fury comes down and the board comes right back. That's just what this Druid can do. So 48 health down to 17 health, facing a lot of damage on top of that.
Yeah.
It just seems like a foregone conclusion at this point for game one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but that's several big numbers. And Spiver's health is looking like not a very big number.
Well, let's do the math here. 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 1. That is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So all of a sudden, 2 health.
Down to 2.
I don't know if there's any way out of the darkness right now for Spiver. He has gone up against the beast that is Hadronox, and has been left wanting, we'll say that much. And so here comes the brawl to clear out the entire board. He's going to leave the 4-3, but he can't really throw his face at this. He has to really hope that this hits, and it does. So Shield Block now going to come out. 7 life. We're still alive at this point, but there's still plenty of gas left in the tank for Wolf.
Yeah, Spiver was very fortunate that there was no Hadronox on the board. He played very well to make sure that was the case. But Wolf has already drawn his entire deck. So I think the obvious play this turn is to drop that Witching Hour, cube that Hadronox, and once again we see a board full of threats, and Spiver is going to have to draw something miraculous.
Tell me if you've heard this story before. It's the story of taunts, and it's the story of taunts going face. So it looks like that's all that's said and done. There's nothing left to do, but, well, I guess put up a bunch of Phantom Militias and pray that your opponent disconnects. That's about it right now.
Yeah, probably going to have to do that. Isn't it a bit ironic that the Taunt Warrior is just getting bashed in by a bunch of taunts?
It is delightfully ironic.
Like to see that.
Yeah, the Taunt Warrior gets hit with its own comeuppance, a taste of its own medicine, if you will. The fact, it's the fact that you just have this revive mechanic. Who would have thought that Druid, it kind of fits the class a little bit with the idea of its healing and bringing things back from, the world tree and all of those things. The fact that, we haven't really seen a lot of revive mechanics from the Druid, but call me crazy if it doesn't suit the class a little bit pretty well.
Yeah, I'm kind of a fan. It just kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think a lot of people were theory crafting this before the expansion actually went live. At least not that I saw.
And there it goes. Spiver goes down in game number 1. So right away we saw that wacky, crazy Druid of Spiver's pretty entertaining to say the least. But now Spiver just has to be saying, okay, get that crap out of the way right now. That thing just cheesed the hell out of me. I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good, but I'm wearing red plaid. I feel that if I just rub the plaid a little bit, I can find the right class for me. Does he stick with this warrior, or does he maybe change things up just for at least for the cast and say, you know what, I'm going to showcase another one of my classes?
You know, I'm not too sure. What were the other classes that?
Right now, Spiver, he's got the Warlock and Mage sitting there along with that Taunt Warrior that we see. Nate Wolf is going to be deciding between the Mage and the Priest as well. Not sure exactly what kind of forms they're going to go at there. We've seen a lot of the big Spell Mage has been sitting around a lot. A little bit of the Tempo Aggressive Mage as well. A lot of priests have been going with that control style. A lot with the Mind Blast combo priests have been sitting there a while. And, of course, Warlock is mostly considered to be cube. We've seen a little bit of the revival of Zoo. Zoo always just kind of stays back for a while, and then someone says, oh, yeah, Zoo's a thing. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. I think Mage might be the most flexible of the classes here, but I'm not exactly sure you know, where Spiver goes from here and what to expect. I mean, it's week 1 right now of a brand new meta. It's really hard to kind of analyze and wonder what class is best for you.
Yeah, I think Spiver should stay on that Taunt Warrior. Priest and Mage, it seems like both of those decks might go control. We might see a Spiteful Priest, and we could possibly see an aggressive Mage or a Control Mage. But I think Taunt Warrior would do well against both of those. So Absolutely. If I were Spiver, I would stay on that Warrior.
Yeah, I think Spiver, you know, and that's a good strategy sometimes, just to sit down there and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to stick with this one class. I'm going to get this 1 point. If I can, you know, maybe win with this warrior, I feel really confident about my other 2 classes. That's often a strategy sometimes you see in this conquest format of just a lot of people saying, hey, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to lead with my worst class. If I can win with my worst class, then I feel really confident about winning the whole match.
Yeah, absolutely. We would like to take a moment to shout out patreon.com/UnitedHS League. It's the patrons over there that help us. We really appreciate you. Go on over there and support us, and we can keep doing this more often.
Absolutely. We would love to continue to do this. We would love to bring new resources in. We would love to find new ways to do stuff. Who knows? Maybe we can create some crazy special effects. You know, right now, the only special effects we have is like the crazy wipes we do. So I could go, let's see here. If we go from the match starting screen, I can do this wipe.
Oh.
Hey.
That's us.
What about this one? Zoom. You see that? It came from top down. All of those things, very different, very unique. The one thing that is also unique is Game 2 of UHL, which looks like the players are getting into right about now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as we see, I correctly predicted Spiver sticking on that warrior. He must agree that this matchup is going to be strong against both the mage.
Hold
and
up.
The priest.
Hold up.
What is that?
That is a spiteful summoner in a mage. What? What is going on here right now?
Is this
and wait a minute.
Is this a farce?
This is no farce. This is a spiteful, even mage.
I'm thinking that the 10-mana spell is Pyroblast. Wouldn't you agree?
That just might be. And, of course, it's not too shabby to have a 1-cost hero power that deals 1 damage to anything on the board right now. That's all good and fun. You got to hope that Spiteful Summoner sticks a really solid minion and then it doesn't get executed right away. You know, all things considered, Spiver probably is really confused right now, but he might also feel pretty good about his odds right. You know, this deck does have the ability to clear off big boards. It has the ability to do some single target removal on top of it, and you know, you don't have to equip Sulfuras. You can just keep tanking up and get out of the range of the damage of something like 2 Pyroblasts.
Yeah, if I was Spiver, I would feel extremely comfortable in this matchup. I mean, he's probably not aware that there's going to be some 12-12s hitting the board, and he's going to be hoping it's not Tyrantus, but if it is, that's what Brawl is for.
Absolutely, and of course, it's turn 4 for Wolf, so the 4-mana minions start coming out. Of course, a 4/7 Twilight Drake is not too shabby, and of course, Serenite Chain Gang is going to come down. You know, something I tried, a little science of myself that I actually didn't realize was whether or not Serenite Chain Gang counted for 1 or 2 procs of the quest. It is only 1 because of the verbiage, of course. It summons and plays and all that kind of stuff. The first time I played this deck, I dropped down Serenite Chain Gang, and I said, "Wait, what? What the hell?"
Oh, You betcha. You bet the
Yep.
majority of players did that as well. I
So
know I did.
Spiver right now, he's got 2 ticks off of the quest. He's got plenty of taunts in hand, including the brand new card, Witchwood Grizzly, of course, which is a 3/12 that loses health for each card in your opponent's deck. So in this case, it's a 5-mana 3/6 taunt. Not too shabby. Right on par with what you expect. And here's a Mountain Giant into the hand for Wolf on turn 6. He's going to go with the 8-cost minion to provide some pressure rather than going with the Spiteful Summoner. What do you think of that play? Would you have gone with the Mountain Giant here, or would you have gone with the Spiteful Summoner?
You know, I got to disagree with Wolf's play. 6-mana 8/8, despite being a really strong play, you know what's better than a 6-mana 8/8? A 6-mana 4/4 and a 12/12. Especially when you don't want to give, especially with 2 in hand, you don't want to give the warrior time to draw both brawls to deal with your extremely powerful mid-range threats.
You know, but I'll go devil's advocate and go the opposite way. Since I already have 2 minions on board, I'm going to drop a solid 8/8 down. I'm going to try and bait out that first brawl, and then after he brawls me once, then I drop the Spiteful and see what happens after that.
Yeah, a very fair point.
So Phantom Militia gets 2 ticks off of that quest, and he's at 5 out of 7 for Spiver. He's well on his way to completing this quest. Meanwhile, a lot of damage on board for Wolf, but that's a lot of taunt in the way as well.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a lot of damage to face this turn. I think if you committed to the Mountain Giant, you can't really play Spiteful Summoner this turn.
Well,
but Wolf disagrees. That's what he goes ahead and does. And
here we
we're
go.
going to see that Pyroblast in a 12/12.
Comes out, and it is a Sea Giant. Welcome to the land of giants.
Feels bad.
The only giant we're missing is possibly the best giant, which of course is the Iron Giant.
Oh, that's true. A little bit of a misplay on Wolf's part. He could have left the Mountain Giant at 8/6, but that's okay. Probably hoping that's not going to make too big a difference.
No, unless it comes into a really funky Reckless Fury. I think that that 1 tick of health hopefully will just be negligible. And that we kind of glossed over the fact that Acidic Swamp Ooze now comes into the hand for Wolf, which will essentially destroy Sulfuros. Of course, doesn't take care of the hero power, but it is 12 damage over 3 turns that you're going to be taking care of there as well. And this is what a Spiteful deck does. It's a very minion-focused deck. It wants to apply pressure. It wants to maintain board control. And right now, Wolf has that in spades. And there's some answers in the hand for Spiver, including that Brawl. And, of course, a few more taunts just to get in the way. But the question is, does he have enough removal, and does he have enough taunt to, go up against this onslaught that Spiver has?
Yeah, it's going to be a bit interesting. Just dropping the Primordial Drake. Unfortunately for Spiver, Wolf's got that spell break, and it's
now
just
he's going to get 20 damage to the face right now.
A lot.
And now he's put his opponent at 6 health. He has also the ability. He's going to keep that Fire Plume Phoenix for just that little bit of reach. That 2 damage could be vital right here. Of course, Spiver, he's now sitting. This seems like an obvious brawl turn. He, of course, has Reckless Fury, which is not going to do anything because he doesn't have any armor. Warpath going to come out and just take out a good amount. I believe all of these minions. There's a nice little board clear in and of itself with the Warpath.
Yeah. The extra health on that Mountain Giant, not going to make too big of a difference. It just means that Spiver is going to have 2 more armor than he would have before.
So second plated beetle comes.
Wolf's got to rebuild the board.
And Spiteful Summoner, great way to do that.
Yes. It's a decent mid-range threat, and I say that knowing full well it's the best mid-range threat in the game.
And Deathwing comes out, so a 12/12 and a 4/4. And let's not forget, he's going to keep Spiver within this range of damage, because the second he draws a Pyroblast now, it's ballgame.
Yeah, we're getting to that point in the game. Unfortunately for Wolf, there's still 18 cards left in his deck. He's got a lot of cards to get through. And since this is a minion-based deck, being a Spiteful Summoner deck, not going to have a lot of spells to draw cards with Arcane Intellect.
No, but you have all the reach that you need with a 10 mana deal 10 damage. Of course, the Fire Plume Phoenix in hand as well. It's going to get you a little bit of reach. This is it seems like the last big stand here from Wolf, unless he can find those Pyroblasts. If Spiver can find out a way to kind of stay alive, putting up a taunt, maybe you taunt, then brawl, something of that nature. He's going to go with the shield block here first. Then he's got second shield block. He can second shield block to put him at, what is that? That's 11, just out of range of dealing with this entire board with the Reckless Fury. So, oh man, it looked like he was one armor off from this.
Yeah, he can still drop a Tar Creeper and hope that there's no way to get around it. Yeah, that's the play here. Completes that quest. Sulfuros goes into Spiver's hand, but not Magni's physical hand. And that's going to be coming down at some point, hopefully.
And now 17 health now for Spiver. He's kind of making the comeback where he can. Fireplume Phoenix #1 comes out. Here comes the second one, along with a tap. That's going to be 16 damage. Going to keep his opponent at 1 health.
Yeah, turns out Warrior is kind of weak to really powerful mid-range threats when you don't have a lot of ways to brawl or activate your executes.
And now the Rotten Apple Bomb's going to come down, and you actually want the Rotten Apple Bomb to die, but I don't think that's really going to do anything unless a Fireplume Phoenix lives. And it does, but still, that's... And there's the Pyroblast off the top to take the win.
Yep, there's not much you can do when you have to barely survive. You get the best possible outcome, and then a giant Pyroblast just hurls at your face.
Well, I'll be darned. The Spiteful Mage pulled it off. What a cool deck. I mean, I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted about this deck because it has a Spiteful Summoner in it. Is this going to be the new meta where we just put Spiteful Summoner in all of our decks and just see what comes of it? I mean, hats off to Nate Wolf. All of the ridiculous hats off to the Wolf for really just saying, you know what, let's just bring Minion Mage. We'll throw a couple Pyroblasts in there, bring Spiteful Summoner, call it a day. It ended up being just enough to put a lot of pressure on his opponent. And Spiver, you know, I'm wondering about if he should have used maybe his brawls a little bit earlier, or try to find some other means of removal. He held on to those brawls for a long, long time, perhaps too long.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Sometimes you gotta use your resources just to stay in the game, or he wasn't really put in any situations where he had to like hope his opponent didn't have this or that, and kind of play to win with those brawls. That was just kind of mid-range threats came down. He had to deal with them, and he kind of held the brawl a bit too long, like you were saying.
Yeah, but you know, all the credit in the world to Wolf is sitting down there and just saying, you know, I'm gonna put some Spiteful Summoners in there, get some Plated Beetles. What is this? Yeah, we'll throw some Spiteful Summoners in there. He puts everything, just all these random minions in there. Kind of an elemental build to it, even though you don't need a lot of synergy with that deck. But he just said, you know, if I can play some Curvestone, I might just pull out a victory anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's what mid-range decks look to do, especially Spiteful decks.
And so we'll wait for these competitors to find their next match coming up. And, you know, it's important to note that there's plenty of other matches going on. Of course, Breezy versus Rod is happening right now on another stream. I can't remember. I think Ridiculous Hat is hosting that stream. I'm not exactly sure yet, but that is also happening. So if this ends up being a quick 3-0, we can all switch over and go over there. We have a couple other matches coming up later on. Of course, tomorrow on Thursday the 19th, we will have Storm Rage versus Andrew, which is going to be on Storm Rage's channel, which is twitch.tv/StormRage23. And then we have Mike Lowe versus Chris, which will be cast by the wonderful, delightful Cinder and Appa, of course, from Appa from Coin Concede. Cinder, formerly of Coin Concede, but also is very involved in that community. That will be on the United Hearthstone League Twitch as well, so you can stay right here for it tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central Time. And, of course, on Saturday, we're going to wrap up the week with who is the last person on the week? It looks like Versika? Versika? I'm not good with pronunciations.
Yeah, not sure.
I believe it's Versika versus Ziggy. That's also going to be cast by Cinder and Appa. And so that you can also find at the United Hearthstone League Twitch. You know, leave it to me to be the bearer of mispronunciations, but I looked at everyone in this league so far, and this is one of the funnest leagues I have seen, and possibly one of the most entertaining Hearthstone experiences I've been a part of, or at least been a viewer of in quite some time, if ever.
Yeah, I gotta mention, I was a little bit hesitant at first when I heard it. What? There's no ban in this format? How do you get around decks like Q-Block? How do you get around decks that you don't want to play against for 20 minutes like Taunt Druid? But, you know, turns out when you can only have 3 specific classes that you can play each week, and then the following week you actually have to plan it out, things get real interesting, and there's a lot of mind games that go on, and I'm really excited to see week 2, week 3, and then how it goes back to week 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost just going to be its own meta reset in a way. By the time week 4 comes around, a lot of these decks might be top tier. Some of them might be garbage tier again. Maybe they have uses again in week 4. That's going to be the really interesting thing so far. So, of course, according to Rod Johnson, I know we're on a 5-minute delay, but Rod Johnson said, yeah, series is over already. So, So we'll be getting started here exactly right now, going into Game 3 between Spiver and Nate Wolf. Let's see what Spiver does. And it looks like immediately he is sticking his guns. He's sticking with this warrior, saying, I'm gonna ride this warrior until I live or die. And now we look down and we see Mind Control, Scalebane's, Twilight Drakes. Me thinks that this might also be a Spiteful build as well.
Yeah, I think we might be seeing a trend. The Season 1 runner-up Spiver decided to stick on that Taunt Warrior, believes he can get the win there. I was wrong in the last one. I thought he was going to do it. But then again, I wasn't really expecting to see Spiteful Mage, now was I?
And, we thought that Taunt, that Taunt Warrior would be a good matchup against the Spiteful deck. We were very wrong on that side of things. And now Wolf, he's going to drop down the Northshire Cleric, just get a minion out there on the board. Maybe he'll be able to, get at least a card or 2 out of it, depending on if any other minions come out that he can heal. In the meantime, turn 3, kind of some empty turns here for Wolf, but this is a slow deck for Spiver and a slow start for him, so not going to be punished for not having anything till turn 4.
Yeah, Wolf's just going to keep keeping that armor total a little low, if possible. Shield block is going to change that, of course. 5 armor is a lot more than 2.
Twilight Drake, number 1 comes down, a 4-6 to go with the 1-3. Meanwhile, Spiver sitting there looking for ways in which he can get ticks off of this quest, because he needs to start applying a lot of pressure. And he has to be mindful now, because, if a Spiteful comes down on 6, which, speak of the devil, that comes out right there. But when he starts putting some taunt minions down, he has to make sure that his best minions don't get mind controlled in the later stages of the game either.
Yeah, that's Spiver. Turns out when you've got a lot of threats in your deck, your opponent needs to have just as much removal to take care of it.
And all those threats can certainly be a nightmare, much as like the Nightmare Amalgam, which of course is just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and we see a Worm Guard as well. If you're holding the dragon, gain +1 attack and taunt. That's a lot of HP.
I mentioned earlier about Curbstone, and this is Curbstone at its finest. Once you hit turn 4 into 5 into 6 into 7, of course, a 10-mana Mind Control. This is going to be a big pressure situation for Spiver, and there's the Ultra Source. So right away, nothing like 6 mana. Good lord, a 6 mana 11-18 on turn 6. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. I can't think of any other ways to describe it other than this is the most powerful turn 6 play in the game outside of Q-block shenanigans.
Yeah, and the thing is, no removal right now besides like 1 execute, which he can use, but he has no brawls in hand right now. He doesn't really have enough mana to throw something like a Reckless Fury out if he had it in hand. He's got ways to gain armor and find some card draw. He can put up 2 taunts right away, but they can be dealt with almost immediately by things like Scale Worm, even if he just wants to drop down the Worm Guard on 7 anyway. Wolf has to be careful here. He has to be careful that he is satisfied with the pressure he's applying, that he doesn't play into a huge board clear from a brawl. So he's got to manage how much pressure he's putting on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thankful for Wolf, there's a lot of threats still in hand and in the deck. So he's got to be feeling really comfortable at the moment. Looks like Spiver's going to opt for the play, slamming that Ultra Spore, probably going to execute it. And then not much else is going to happen.
But, he took care of the biggest size minion on the board. He's got a taunt up that can't be dealt with. There's a Mind Control that's sitting in hand right now. Scale Worm, just the perfect answer to a Tar Creeper. That immediately gets taken care of, and now a bunch of damage is going to go to face. He's going to heal up. He decides this is the right amount of pressure to apply, which is a decent amount. I mean, you're sitting there, you have 16 damage. That's, eventually it's going to be lethal over, 2 turns is what it's going to be. And now, Primordial Drake comes down, removes one minion, but it almost immediately dies to the board, and you can just reload again.
Yeah, this turns out a lot of large threats on the board at the same time that all can't be answered efficiently without Brawl. Makes a tough time for a warrior.
Now, here's a card that I did not expect in the first couple weeks of an expansion. I remember the very first game I played in the Year of the Raven, my opponent dropped a Curious Glimmerroot on me. I'm like, how the hell are you going to guess what is in my deck within the first day of an expansion? And he didn't, of course. He missed on it, but it was one of the most unique things I thought. Of course, maybe the meta has shaken out a little bit. The Curious Glimmerroot isn't so much of a wild card. But at the same time, 18 health for Spiver, decent amount of pressure now from the opponent, and even a Blood Razor to call it on top of it.
Yeah, I've actually been pretty impressed with these Warpaths. Spiver's been setting up boards so that Warpaths are clearing them effectively, and he still has time to armor up. So, pretty impressed with this this one card clearing the board.
Really, really strong card, that Warpath. And of course, here's something, a little bit of Hearthstone trivia, something that I actually don't know. When Tyrande attacks, what does she say?
I don't know. Is it by a loon?
I think she just says for a loon I think she says just for a loon, but I'm not exactly sure what Tyrande says when she attacks with a weapon, because we never expect the priest to have a weapon in the first place.
She says for a loon.
There you go. 10 points for Brasky. And just like that, Wolf, Spiver has dealt with a lot of boards, and he's dealt with them very well. And he still has a Brawl in hand. But Wolf just keeps dropping minion after minion. Now, that said, he's running out of gas a little bit. He still has the Worm Guard and the Tar Creeper. Of course, mind controls are always pretty decent to use and take your opponent's minions against themselves. But, Wolf starting to run out of gas a little bit.
Yeah, I'm impressed with how Spiver's dealt with these boards and keeping two Brawls in hand at the same time. I think Phantom Militias are a really smart play this turn. He can block the damage going face. He's at a significantly impressive health total. I'm a little confused about the decision to play Tar Creeper there. Could that have been a misclick?
Yeah, I wonder if it was a misclick or if he just is looking for as much health as possible to help stay out of the way. Meanwhile, Free from Amber going to come out. It's going to go up against Nizdormu, Ysera, or Deathwing. That's probably the three best dragons you could want. And here comes Nizdormu.
That's what you like to see.
15 seconds now for each player. That's all they get because the dragon, the Lord of Time, Nizdormu, is out there right now. He heals everything up. Now Wolf decides to let his minions get buffed. Spiver now has to move. He's going to throw face. He's going to throw Brawl. And we know immediately, because that timer's not done, that Nizdormu does not survive this.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that the aspect of time did not survive more than 20 seconds or so.
I'm betrothed to Wolf for that one. One of my favorite times to cast is when Nizdormu is on the board. It is just move time when that dragon comes out. But now, as I said earlier, Wolf, he's got this Tar Creeper, he's got this Worm Guard, the Twilight Acolyte, not going to do a lot for him, not even activated at this point. The gas is running low now for Wolf.
Yeah, there's not many threats, and especially no dragon in hand to activate that Worm Guard. So Wolf's in a bit of trouble here.
The Worm Guard Worm Guard is not going to be activated either, so it's essentially just a 3/11, which is a fun band, but not a fun minion, especially if it doesn't have +1 attack and taunt.
Yeah, that's a 7-cost minion that can't even punch through 3-drop taunts.
So now is now the time for Spiver to start going on the offensive. He has a Brawl in hand. Sulfuras comes out. He can easily gain just a little bit more armor and equip this weapon. It looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. And so now Spiver is saying, hey, let's flip the tables. He's going to drop down as many minions as possible, being mindful of the mind controls, and just start throwing as much damage to this face. And now the pressure is on Wolf.
Yeah, Spiver has done an excellent job knowing when he was the control, and now he is the beatdown. He successfully made that transition, and that's how you know that the Taunt Warrior is going to make it out of this game. Yeah, 4/11 is not that scary against a control deck, especially on an empty board.
And here comes the Ragnaros power to the face, puts his opponent now at 7. And so you really have to think now at this point. Yeah, he is going to throw minions. I was wondering whether or not you have to be worried about mind control at this point. Do you continue to throw minions out there?
Yeah, I think you make an excellent point. His opponent has some dead cards in hand that he wasn't dropping earlier.
So here we go.
Held onto that Worm Guard for a while. Kind of gives him the read that Mind Control had to be in hand.
Well, he can tap this. He can tap this right now. I don't see any executes in hand right now. He can go Brawl 50-50, or he can just say, hey, 1 out of 3. Let's see if he's going to get the victory. Does not get this spot yet. So now the Sunwalker is still up there. Now, does he realize whether or not he should play more minions? He's seen 1 Mind Control already. He's seen the fact that his opponent has held on to this other card on the far left of his opponent's deck. He's held onto that card for quite some time. You have to almost assume that that is the second Mind Control. So is he just going to try and remove 1 minion, which he could have, which he can do definitely right here. Acolyte of Pain now. Not bad. Not bad. It's going to help you find some card draw. It's minimal value for your opponent. I like this move right here from Spyver.
Yeah, you got to find that single target removal in order to guarantee the success of your Ragnaros hero power. So, very smart play.
Is someone injured?
Got to keep cycling. An act of desperation from Wolf here, it seems. Got to draw some cards. Got to hope to find anything.
Well, now, and basically you just kind of say, hey, let's go in the board flood, all right? So now just try and reduce as much chance as my opponent has to hit me in the face with 8. So what is Spyver going to do here? He has the opportunity here a little bit to gain some armor with this Dry Whisker armor. He can go for Brawl and then go for the 50-50, or even because he has a minion, he can go for Brawl and immediately have the victory if this Acolyte of Pain actually wins the Brawl here. So there's not a lot of immediate opportunities here, things that you say, well, obviously this is the play. So here he is. He's going to go for the Brawl and decide right here if he's going to be able to pull out this victory.
Yeah, there's 2 outcomes here. The first being either he wins the game or he clears the board.
And he gets it.
Yep, either way, winning the game is better than securing to win the game in a couple turns. So Spyver finds a win on that Taunt Warrior.
Wise words from Manamore. Winning the game is better than not winning the game.
Not winning the game for a few more turns.
So there we go. Spyver gets on the board right there. He pulls out the victory with his warrior. We move on to the next game. There's life now in Spyver. He knows now what he's up against. And so perhaps if he brought a big spell mage, or if he brought a very control-focused warlock, he might be able to kind of weather the storm of this Spiteful Priest. I mean, Spiteful Priest can always high roll. Spiteful is going to Spiteful, but there is opportunity to be had right now for Spyver.
Yeah, Spyver knows exactly what he's going into. He knows exactly what to mulligan for. So even if his decks are unfavored, he knows what he needs to pull. So he's got to feel a little more confident going into this game.
So we see the Warlock come out with Lord Godfrey in hand. I also believe I see a Possessed Lackey in there as well. It's a great start for Wolf, though. He's going to go Northshire Cleric into Keleseth, into Tar Creeper. That's 1, into 2, into 3, with all of your minions buffed from turn 2 on. That is a fantastic start for Wolf.
Oh, he's just going to go straight into the Keleseth. That's real interesting.
Look at this. He says, I want all of the value out of the Prince, so he's going to drop it down with the coin on turn 1. Meanwhile, Spyver is going to start getting cards in hand to kind of get his Q block on a roll. So Northshire Cleric now comes down. So there you go. He got the value. He got an extra buff on Twilight Acolyte, but not really a minion that you care about a buff on. So, maybe a waste of a coin there, right there from Wolf. So if he gets a Spiteful Summoner here before turn 6, he could have had the chance to drop it on turn 5.
Yeah, and now he's kind of a bit of an awkward position because he's not dropping that Twilight Acolyte yet, and he doesn't quite have enough damage to punch through this Tar Creeper. I personally would have liked to see him drop a Twilight Acolyte and then swap it with like Keleseth or Northshire Cleric there instead of his opponent's Tar Creeper. So at least he has enough damage on the board to punch through it next turn.
Yeah, he's got a decent amount of damage on the board right now. The thing I'm also concerned about, Tim, look at Spyver, look at Nate Wolf. Nate, obviously going with the more buttoned-up flannel approach. Spyver goes 2 buttons down. Are you a 2-button down guy? Are you completely buttoned up all the way through? How do you rock your flannel?
I'm a one button down kind of guy. I'm not rebellious enough to do the 2 buttons. Ooh, that's a bit too much looseness for me. I'm more uptight.
Yeah, no, we can recognize that simply just
Oh,
because of that blanket. That's an uptight blanket, man.
yeah, man. You always got to be relaxed. And it's a blankie. A blankie.
Me, I go 2 buttons down. I'm not one of those heathens that buttons their collared shirts all the way up to the top. I don't do those kinds of things. I like to be free and easy with my flannel, especially if it's Broad flannel, because that's the other key. You have to decide, how does Broad wear his flannel, and do you want to completely imitate, or you just want to be inspired?
That's true. You got to spend a bit of time on his Twitter page, do a little bit of research, and understand. Got to get into Rhodes' mindset.
Also, great band name, Inspired Flannel.
Oh.
So Spirit Singer Umbra comes out right here on turn 4. Interestingly enough, I mean, again, the priest doesn't really have a lot of single target removal. It doesn't have a lot of direct damage from hand. So dropping it down here when there's only 3 damage on the board, not the craziest play.
Yeah, Spiver recognizes Wolf probably isn't going to have the ability to buff his. What is that thing? A Duskbreaker?
That's the old Duskbreaker.
You ever look at a word so much that it doesn't even look like a word anymore? I've seen so many Duskbreakers that I can't even recognize.
And I've seen enough Void Lords to realize that when Spirit Singer Umbra is out, that is a complete huge board right there on turn 5, thanks to Spirit Singer Umbra pulling the Void Daddy out, and now the pressure is on Wolfie right here.
Yeah, what a power play. Spiver put himself in an excellent position with that. Not so risky play with Umbra. That was a smart play, a very, very knowledgeable decision that we saw. And it absolutely pays off as Wolf, being the minion-based deck, switched from beatdown to playing control, and that's what a minion-focused deck wants to be doing.
And now the Doom Guard comes into hand, and Mortal Coil going to draw even more so. Let's see if he gets a Carnivorous Cube out of this. No, but an 8/8, still pretty decent, and not a way to deal with this. Wolf is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Spiver with a lot of heads-up play. When you put the aggressive deck on the back foot this early on in the game, you know they're not going to be able to switch. But going to go ahead and drop those Twilight Acolytes. Hope that's enough for him to stay alive.
And still plenty of pressure now coming from Spiver. Not a lot of direct damage going at. It's just going to go hit after exact lethal. Spiver is going to take this to a game 5. Game 5 in the Battle of the Flannels.
Yeah, absolutely. Spiver recognizing when to go aggressive, playing that late game deck. Very smart decision making. Going straight to game 5. What are the classes for this match?
And now game number 5. It is going to be Mage versus Priest. So we get to see, we've now seen Nate Wolf's Priest. It is the Spiteful Priest. It has now betrayed him twice. It has not gotten, even with something like a Keleseth start, he left the Spirit Singer Umbra up, and Spirit Singer Umbra is basically like the Fandral Staghelm of Warlock. You leave it alive for 1 turn, you're going to lose, regardless of what's going to happen.
Look at the mess Spirit Umbra made. Do you want ants? Because this is how you get ants.
This is how you get ants.
Should I say Voidwalkers?
What did I tell you about those Spirit Singers? You stop hanging out with them. You keep them alive for 1 turn, you're going to be in a bad spot. But we're in a great spot because we're going into game number 5. And so the Spiteful Summoner Priest is going to try and get off the schneid against what appears to be, I see a Vex Crow, I see Pyroblast, I see Uncle Tony in there. This looks to be like a tempo aggro Vex Crow mage.
Yep, definitely a tempo mage here. I've heard reports that Vex Crow has been underperforming in this list. There's not a lot of options with what is that a Breath of Syndragosa that I see there?
That is not unheard of, my friend. The Breath of Syndragosa it was one of the early incantations of this deck was Breath of Syndragosa to compete with the aggro starts of things like Odd and Even Paladin. You needed that Breath of Syndragosa there. Do you need it against the Spiteful Priest? Probably not. But what it does get you is the opportunity to just add more minions from your Vex Crow.
Yeah, and if I were Wolf here, I feel pretty comfortable picking that Primordial Glyph, seeing that that Sorcerer's Apprentice turn come down on 2. But now, that Breath of Syndragosa is gonna do work, clearing up that
We have many secrets.
Curious Glimmer. I don't know why I can't think of minion names today.
It's too bad he didn't keep the Vexcrow, because if he was able to coin Vexcrow, he would have just had zero. He could have gone with the mirror entities. See, I'm having a problem with cards as well. The mirror entities with the Breath of Cindergrosa on top of it. The Meddlesome Insects, though, is going to completely clear off the board. Explosive Ruin's going to keep and make sure that the pressure is going to be on Spiver's side, but he has no minions to put down right now.
That's a shame. He's probably hoping to see a Mana Worm there so he could develop the board a little bit and also draw cards. Thankfully, he has Arcanologist, so that's a close second.
Close second only to, well, probably Uncle Tony is what you'd like to see come out, just somehow recruit him on turn 4 and then throw a bunch of one-cost spells left and right on top of it.
I'd love to see that.
Speaking of spells, Spiver is just a wealth of them right now. He has no minions to look for right now. He's got Arcane Missiles, he's got Arcane Intellect, he's got Primordial Glyph and Counterspell as well as a Fireball. So Polymorph comes down. That could be a pretty decent answer to an eventual Spiteful Summoner on 6.
Yeah, Spiteful Summoner on 6 is going to be difficult for the mage to deal with. I'm really surprised they didn't pick Polymorph. Polymorph is an excellent way to deal with things that come out of Spiteful Summoner outside of Tyrantus. Probably thinks that the minion-based approach is how he's going to win this game, and he's got to stick to that plan.
And now Spiteful Summoner comes down. Wolf has been pretty fortunate with his Spiteful Summoner pulls, and there's not a lot of, with the rotation, there's not a lot of weak 10-cost minions out there. And Ultra Soar makes an appearance yet again.
Yep, 7 14s, 8 8s, and 12 12s. I'm not sure if there's any other minions with different stats.
Yeah, with the rotation of the Old Gods, a 10-cost minion now is almost as equal of value as an 8-cost minion.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Spiver's got to play on the back foot here. He's got some mirror images. He's got a secret to develop, but outside of that, we see Wolf has that Duskbreaker in hand.
Yeah, he holds on to one secret right now. Hopefully that he can just say, hey, I'm going to get at least maybe one fireball out of this thing. Prince Keleseth now comes down. Truth is found in death, and now the board is on Wolf's side. The pressure is on Spiver. He really needed to have a fast start with this mage, because if it doesn't start fast, it's really hard for it to make a comeback.
Yeah, Wolf decides not to play around that meteor, and, he's the Wolf. That's probably just a show of dominance.
Because he's hungry like the Wolf. He's hungry for a victory here in Week 1 of UHL. And now
can you blame him?
No, you can't blame him at all. Look at that flannel. Look at that steely blue steel stare from Nate Wolf. Ooh. Spiver, he's having the time of his life. He looks like he films a lot of GoPro videos that are all outdoorsy and fun. Nate Wolf, he sits down there and says, no, not for me. My flannel is the only type of flannel that's going to just be brooding. I'm hungry for the victory.
You might say that flannel is brooding.
Yeah!
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll catch you next week.
I would have played the song from The Who, but I believe it's copyrighted and we get hit for that.
Well, better to ask for
forgiveness later.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
That's all we need.
Is not a caster's strong suit.
That's all we need for Ferris Biscuit, is that he's just sitting at home one day and then he gets a knock at the door and it's some goons for The Who. Just giving him a cease and desist. They break his legs a little bit, and we're like, what happened? It's like, well, Brasky played The Who on stream, and that's what happened.
Yep.
Golden Archmage Antonitis is going to get himself a fireball, but it's not going to get him a victory, as Wolf has the pressure to seal this game out, because last time I checked, Ice Block is not a card.
Yeah, and, it's still early in the rotation. Maybe he's got to hope that his opponent forgets that Ice Block is no longer in the game. But that's not what we see here, and Wolf takes down Season 1 runner-up Spiver.
Let's finish out the animation. Da-da-da-da. And now we're back again. Look at that, the fancy wipe now this way. So there it is. Wolf takes the victory here in Week 1 over Spiver in a very close match, 3-2. That was absolutely outstanding. So in the meantime, while this is going on, Tim, here's the thing. Spiteful Summoner did great with the Mage. Didn't do so well with the Priest. Is Spiteful Summoner as inconsistent as I think it is, or is there going to be some good things to happen from those decks?
No, I think this is a testament to the power of Spiteful Summoner. The only reason that that priest kind of fell a little bit was Wolf had knowledge on knew exactly what he was playing against going into the rest of those games. No, Spiver knew what he was going against when it comes to that priest. But mid-range threats sometimes win the day, and you play your questions, and if your opponent doesn't have answers, you win, especially this early into the expansion.
Absolutely. So we're going to try and get both Wolf and Spiver into Discord, at least one of them, if not both of them, so we can chat with them both.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go transition here. Tim, why don't you talk a little bit again about some of the matches that are upcoming here for UHL. Meanwhile, I'm going to do a fancy white.
We lost him.
Stone. We lost him.
He's back. No, you're good. You're good. I think your mic cut out there for a second, but I got you. I got the gist.
Did we get him added in?
It's that Swagoid bond. Oh, I don't know. Have you done that yet?
I'll go.
I was going to talk about the matches for.
Okay, you chat about that, and then I'm going to go. You know what? This is what we're going to do. You're going to hear the voice of Animor while I get the players in on stream. But before that, here's a star wipe to the UHL logo. Ooh.
Beautiful. So yes, of course. Tomorrow we've got 2 sets of matches coming in. Tomorrow, 5:30 Eastern, we got Storm Rage versus Andrew. 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's a Thursday. That's a tomorrow. You already know. That's going to be on Storm Rage's channel, twitch.tv/Storm Rage with an I, RAIGE 23. And then after that, a little bit later, 10 p.m. Eastern, Mike Lowe.
Oh, I think we lost you for a second. Give me one second. Okay, you're back.
What was the last thing you heard?
I heard Mike Lowe.
Mike Lowe versus Chris, cast by Cinder and Appa, one formerly and one currently of Coin Conceived. That's going to be on the UHL Twitch channel.
Hey guys.
Hey,
what's up, Wolf?
Congratulations.
Thanks. I didn't know I was going to be on video, but that's super cool. My webcam is not very good, but. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I've got a whole closet full of them. Not as many as Broad, but a handful. Yeah, those were good. Those were good matches, man. It was pretty tight, and that Q Block deck just crushed me. So
yeah, that's what Q Block does.
I mean, hey, at least he got it out of the way. I was afraid, I was thinking about what classes I wanted to bring, and I thought, I didn't want to. I kind of wanted to bring like a mixture of. Not all the best. I feel like Warlock is the best, and I kind of wanted to save it for later. I almost ran 3 different Spiteful decks, and I switched up at kind of the last minute to that Taunt Druid, and paid off. So, but Spivey's a great player, and we're friends in real life. But those were great games, and they were pretty tight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it could have gone either way.
Oh, yeah. I high rolled a couple of times in those mage games because it runs the Book of Specters, and every once in a while, Spiteful Summoner totally whiffs. So.
And that the Spiteful Summoner kind of went against you a little bit. The Priest kind of almost got you reverse swept right there. Were you a little nervous there going into Game 5 with that Priest? Was it not going to do what you thought it was?
Well, it kind of steamrolls, and I wasn't sure. It depended what type of mage deck he was bringing, and I feel like against the slower, more controlly matches, it has a harder time. But once I saw he was playing Secret Mage, I felt like, oh, good, I can go all in, and once I can snowball, I'm probably okay. But yeah, no, I was nervous. I kept thinking like, oh no, if I get reverse swept, that's not fun.
Absolutely. We'll check in real quick and see if Spivey's there. Spivey, you there? He might be muted. He might not. I saw a mute symbol at some point.
Yeah, I saw it too.
Spiver,
he says yep in the Discord, so he's He should be around.
Let's
I
see if
forgot I got push to talk on. What's up, boys?
Aha!
Hey, good games, buddy.
Spiver,
Classic.
you are banned from wearing flannel for at least 1 week. What happened?
You can try and stop me. If you guys casted the game, you tell me what happened.
Well, what I saw was a spiteful summoner mage that basically made me go, huh? And then I saw a furious comeback happen for you, almost pulling that reverse sweep. How are you feeling after your warrior lost you 2 games? You're down 0-2. And you stuck with the warrior. So tell me a little bit about, were you just going to go down with the ship with Magni, or did you just really feel that matchup, that going up against a priest, you felt really confident with that warrior deck?
So the moment that Taunt Druid was a breakout deck after Nate had submitted his classes, I knew that my lineup was not going to be in any good shape to handle it. And there was no way that I was going to be winning with Warrior in positive matchup rates, like in any circumstance. So I knew that it was either win with Warrior or go 0-3.
I like it. And of course, you went with some decks that we've seen in the meta a little bit, especially the Taunt Warrior and of course Q-Block. Never heard of that before. And then you bring up this mage deck that really seemed like it needed to get off to a fast start, and you just didn't get the start that deck demands in order to pull something off against a spiteful summoner deck that gets the spiteful summoner.
I was very disappointed pitching my entire hand that I couldn't draw a mana worm, especially after I saw Nate not do anything for the first couple turns. And I just tried to make the best of it. And I think the mistake with the mage deck was probably with my glyph. I got a really bad glyph, and my logic was I wanted to get that mirror entity down and beat his face. And before it mattered that I had a polymorph in hand, because spending 4 mana on a polymorph, even if it's Deathwing that comes out of Spiteful, is just not something that I wanted to do with that deck.
Yeah, absolutely. That deck needs to put the pressure on it. It doesn't.
Yes.
It needs to provide the questions, not have the answers.
Yep. And I was in a position where I was so far behind that I knew the Duskbreaker was coming down, and it just, I don't know, just like I said, it just kind of got away from me.
Absolutely. And Wolf, to your credit, what sort of inspiration happened? What happened? When did you hit your head and said, "I'm going to put Spiteful Summoner and a Mage"?
Well, I did a lot of test playing over this week with Red Knight and with Rod Johnson, and I tried a bunch of different mage decks. The big spell mage just felt really slow. And I test played some Secret Mage. I played a lot of it in Wild, and it's okay, but I test played some of it earlier, and I just didn't feel that strong for me. And I thought I'd bring a meme deck and see how it went. I mean, I did a lot of test playing with it. I went to a Fireside Gathering over the weekend, and I've been test playing with it a lot. It just feels good. I don't like a lot of the mage decks in the meta right now feel really slow to me and kind of clunky, and I want to try something different. So it was a gamble, definitely a gamble, but after test playing a bunch of different decks, it paid off. So,
Spivey, you were runner-up last year in Season 1, and now this is first week of Season 2. Does it feel any different with this amount of players in and this style of format, or does it feel the same awesome UHL it's always been?
I think it's the same awesome UHL it's always been. It's Ferris had a great idea with the conferences, so it feels similar. The playoffs, I'm sure, will be a lot different, and this is just the best thing is always whatever we can do to make this league grow, and this was the step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And of course, Wolf, the one question I wanted to ask you is, you have a podcast, you're part of a podcast, Into the Wild, and yet this is a standard format. How much of, do you ever have times that you're sitting there playing these games and you go, oh, of course, well, I can play, no, I can't play that because that's in Goblins versus Gnomes or TGT or any of the other stuff. Do you have to check yourself for a second? Like, when you saw that Mage Secret come out at the end of that last game, were you thinking Ice Block or something else?
Yeah, I mean,
I was trying to throw the curve.
The ultimate bluff.
So, you know what? I actually feel like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I play mostly Wild, and I feel like the power level is so high there that's what I'm used to going up against. But I actually feel like the Spiteful Summoner decks are a lot stronger in Standard after the rotation, because before, like, you pull a 10 mana card and you can whiff, like when you pull Cthulhu or N'Zoth or one of those, and they're weak. And now that those are gone, your chances of pulling a better card are or a higher power level card are so much better. So it feels okay. Although I still feel like, especially like when I'm playing Q Block or one of those, I feel like I'm playing with one hand tied behind my back because all the strong cards are in Wild. But it's okay. I've been test playing with the guys from Portland Firesides, my local Fireside gathering, and test playing with some of the other players here, and it feels okay. I've been double laddering the last couple months, so but it is kind of confusing to remember which is which sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. I don't even bother with Wild because I'm like, you know what? I don't think my brain can handle that. I don't think I can quickly transition between Standard and Wild. So kudos to you. That must be awesome to play in 2 different formats.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I got a question for you guys. I kind of want to talk a little bit about your lineups. Let's see, Nate, you kind of brought it looked like 2 aggressive mid-range decks in the form of those 2 Spiteful decks, and then that Taunt Druid, which seemed like a very solid pick. You went a more aggressive approach, which is a lot more standard when it comes to early on in the expansion. Were you confident in your aggressive deck picks?
Yeah, well, I mean, when we exchanged classes earlier in the week, I started thinking about the possibilities of what he could bring, and I thought, Q Block was hands down it was going to happen, and with the other 2, it's like, okay, well, do you either play like some kind of tempo mage or a more control type of mage? Probably control. And with Warrior, same deal. Like, you can play kind of a tempo, but it doesn't feel as strong as the more control heavy or Quest Warrior. And so, as opposed to bringing, I didn't want to bring control decks to a control match, so I brought mid-range ones. I felt like they'd be. I mean, and of course, this is all conjecture, but it paid off. I feel like mid-range is the way to go against control decks, and if I can be the aggressor, then at least I'll have him on his toes a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it worked out. Happy that it's done though. Spivey, you're tough.
Yeah, so I'm going to toss this question over to Spivey next. So you kind of brought 2 control decks and 1 aggro deck. So you were kind of on the other side of the table. Were you feeling a bit more confident bringing control decks, even though the meta's not exactly figured out?
I am. I think my strategy lies more having done this before. The only thing that's really new is the rotation. And so what I did is I chose 3 decks that I felt like were not going to change much over the next 3 weeks of UHL. So I wanted to make sure I gave decks like Shaman and Rogue a chance to kind of develop. I don't know. I mean, and this could be looked back on and laughed about, but I don't see Mage, Warrior, and Warlock changing much, at least in the first couple months or so of Witchwood. And so I did I crunched a lot of numbers, and these were the best lineups against Taunt Druid. That was the big one. I think if Taunt Druid hadn't have been a deck, it would have been a lot closer matchup.
Yeah, I almost brought 3 Spiteful decks. And it's hard.
Good. Spiteful's one of the best cards in the game right now.
It is. Oh, it is for sure. And I feel like it is. It was really tough this week because the meta is so fresh. It was really hard to pick lineups. Like, if we had been a month in, when everything has kind of settled, there would be some more definitive decks, some definitive answers, and we kind of had to wing it. But I agree with Spivey. I mean, I think his matchup was strong. The thing with the Spiteful decks, if you draw them on curve, it's great. If your opponent doesn't have answers, it's great. And if you high roll, it's great. And it's like high risk, high reward.
Tell you what, I am excellent at drawing the 10 mana spells before I draw any Spitefuls. So I would love to be able to draw the Spitefuls before, but
If only
yeah,
there
that's
was, if
awesome.
only there was like some spell hunter type of things that you could use in your druid. That's just like if you've drawn both of your 10 cost and have no other spells, summon all of these taunts again. That's all we need again for that
Ooh.
taunt druid. Last question.
Blizzard, hire this man.
Yeah, right. Put me on that final design team. Who cares about Shocky? Put Brasky on it. Last question for both of you. If there's one card that has rotated that you really wish was back right now, what would it be? I'll start with you, Nate Wolf. What do you got?
What rotated? See, I play Wild. Nothing ever rotates. I don't know. That's a tough one. We joke all the time on the show. We ask people like, "What's your favorite wild card?" And for like 5 or 6 weeks in a row, everybody said Lotheb. And at least now we have that 2-mana Paladin spell that is like Lotheb Junior.
Yeah, Lotheb.
So I
Light.
don't know. That's a good question.
I'll just sit down there. Spivey, perhaps you have an answer to this.
The only reason I do is because of the match. Ice block. I think that the ice block maybe. I mean, I had the Antonitis, I had the Pyroblast in hand, and I just needed an extra turn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it was a fantastic match from both of you. And before we leave, shout outs and, of course, where we can find you on the internet. Spivey, we'll start with you. What shout outs do you want to have? And where can people find you and the content you create?
You can go ahead and find us at 1600dust.com and follow me at Spiver on Twitter. And shout out to Spirit Singer Umbra.
You talk about high risk, high reward, right?
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that when you said that.
Brilliant. Nate Wolf, what do you got? What shout outs do you have and where can people find all your wonderful stuff?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Twitter is the best place. It's at Nate Wolf HS, NATEWOLFEHS, part of Into the Wild, and you can find that on Twitter at Into the Wild HS. You can download the show on iTunes or anywhere that you can get podcasts, or directly from our website. It's at radiocircus.net. And then just a big shout out to Craig of Canada, my co-host and good buddy there, and also big shout out to Portland Firesides, who just a bunch of fun people there, and helped me test play some decks and over the past weekend. And shout out to Red Knight and Rod as well for all the help. So good match, Spivey.
Yeah, good match, sir.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. You have a great rest of your evening, and we look forward to seeing all your other matches for the rest of the season.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
See you later. So let me switch back over here. Get these going. Boom. Oh, does that work? Oh, look at how good this is. Hold up. It switched by itself. Transition. Whoa. I don't have to reformat any windows anymore. All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us here in week number 1 of UHL. Still plenty of matches here to come up. So we had the shout-outs for those players. Anamor, what are your shout-outs, and where can people find you on the internet?
My first shout out goes to New Glasses. They're great. I can see clear again. But no, my first shout out is actually to Swagway Gaming. You can check us out at Swagway Gaming on Facebook and Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Swagway Anamor and on Twitch at Anamor77. What about you? Where can people find you?
Well,
Who are you?
interestingly enough, they can find me at a lot of the Swego Gaming sites as well, including SwegoGaming.com is where they can find us as well.
Oh.
Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Brasky1142. You can find me at Twitch at the same twitch.tv/Brasky1142. You'll find me at those spots. That's usually where you find most of my Hearthstone life living. Of course, I'm in all of the Discords that you can ever possibly imagine. Not as many as Ridiculous Hat, but still quite a few as well. And of course, if you want to know more about United Hearthstone League, you can find them on Twitter at UnitedHS League, and really just type in any link you want to, and just, how do I point this way? And then go this. Oh yeah, I'm all backwards with this webcam. You can basically go to you can find our Discord at United Hearthstone League as well. You can just go to UnitedHearthstoneLeague.com and find out all about the league itself. And of course, look below you at all of these wonderful podcasts that you can go check out as well. Things like, I have just discovered Blizzlet, and it is amazing. I have listened to 1600 Dust and Coin Concede, and I'm basically just going to go down the line, and anything I haven't listened to yet, I'm just going to load it up on my phone and help me for any chores I got to do. If I got some travel to do, that stuff is just going to be my Hearthstone oasis. So make sure to check out all of those spots as well. But that's going to do it for us here at United League. What's that? You got something else for me?
I think before we go, I think we need to go out. Wonder Twin powers activate.
Do this. No, I did it. Wait.
There you go. Activate.
Form of Hadronox. Hey. Oh,
more like 2 of them.
Form of a flannel. Ding. So that's going to do it for us here for week 1 of UHL, folks. Stay tuned for a bunch of action that's going to be coming here on Thursday. But until then, you all have a wonderful rest of your night.
Have a good one, guys.